So today, one of the folks that I got to see at the NAB show last month was Tony Peterle, and he is with WorldCast. And one of the nice projects, I guess you could
Products,
say, products,
solutions.
solutions, they're a new series of lower powered AIO transmitters. And the thing that I noticed, no, there's other features, he'll tell you, it includes the decoder for your codec. So you only have to buy a codec encoder for the studio, which
Correct.
reduces your price and cost dramatically. And there you go. So, Tony, tell us more about this transmitter and features.
Sure, absolutely. The AIO is the latest generation of the Automat eCrizo transmitter lines. eCrizo is a company that actually has been building solid state FM transmitters. And this is absolutely true since 1956. They actually started out as an amateur radio manufacturer and were quite well regarded in the let's see, screen. There we go, and share. Quite well regarded in the amateur radio community for all that they did, the quality of their equipment and the quality of the signals that it generated. So FM broadcast came around to France a little bit later on, and was let's see, AIO, AIO. Of course, I don't have a brochure for the AIO handy. Um, so the director of engineering for France's biggest transmitter group, TDF, was a big amateur radio operator and owned several Acriso transmitters and contacted the Acriso designers and said, "Hey, could you build an FM modulator for the FM broadcast band?" And they said, "Sure." So that's when the broadcast thing started. Um, so we've been building solid state FM for a long time. We're really good at it. We've always had an eye towards the most efficiency, the best quality of the sound, serviceability. Because if you're not familiar with the European broadcast structure, it's a very centralized sort of thing, and also very compartmentalized in that the people who buy and purchase and operate and maintain the transmitters aren't necessarily the people that create the programs or the people that own the sites that those transmitters are located on. So it's common for a content creator, a producer, program producer in France. They will produce a program and distribute it and lease uh, 10 or 20 or 300 transmitter sites, time on transmitters of those transmitter sites across the country. So depending on how much coverage they want for their signal and other factors, they will. And the transmitters over there are generally all about 1,000 watts or less. We build up to 10 kilowatts. That's the biggest transmitters in France. You'll find those pretty much only on the Eiffel Tower, but everything else is very small, and it works almost like a cellular network. There's a feature in the RDS data casting that is called automatic frequency switching. So a content provider will create a program ID or program service name, which is that 8-character display that's typically static on European car radios or in European areas, and that program name then is broadcast on all of their different transmitters, which are operating on different frequencies. Well, while you're driving down the road, you're listening to one frequency and you're hearing that program. The radio, the receiver, is constantly sniffing the other frequencies it finds in the alternate frequency list of the primary. And as soon as it finds one that has a stronger signal and has the same program ID number, then it will switch frequencies. And the display shows no difference at all. So for the driver, it's transparent. You drive from one end of the country to the other, you listen to the same program, perfect fidelity, perfect synchronization, everything's great all the way around. In the meantime, in the background, your radio is switching, half a dozen times from one transmitter to another as you travel through one village and the next. So the people that run transmitters in France are really serious about the quality of the transmitters because they're going to buy a bunch of them and they're going to want to keep them on the air for a long time. So as far as the cost of operation, the efficiency, ease of maintenance, I think we're still the only transmitter manufacturer to even offer a 10-year warranty. Our standard warranty is 3 years, but for a couple of $100 at time of purchase, you can get a 10-year warranty, and that's we're not we're not basing that on the fact that, oh, when we're going to start getting warranty claims, we'll be out of business by then. We've been in business for 60 years, and we're going to continue to be in business. We base the price of the 10-year warranty on the components that we know are going to be the most likely to fail, like a power supply. And we're not losing any money on it. So they're very solid transmitters. They operate in very robust, very difficult conditions. They're very robust, very durable, great sound quality, very easy to service. The AiO series, our newest ones, we have had for a while backup audio and audio processing and things like that. We're adding more and more features and capabilities built into the transmitter, so you can reduce the hardware count at the transmitter site. So it has, depending on the model, it can have a hot swap or at least a quick swap power supply. You see the front panel here. You just undo the two thumb screws on the side. The front panel pops off. You can change the fan, the cooling fan on it, in about 5 minutes. You can change the power supply in about 30 seconds. So it's designed to be very serviceable. It protects itself if there's any foldback. Uh, One of the demos I remember from being at the factory one time, shortly after we introduced the new 10 kilowatt model, they had one set up in the test bay and let all of us field service and salespeople go in there and try and kill it. And boy, I tried to kill it. I was sticking screwdrivers in the output connector. I was, doing this, doing that. No matter what I did to it, it just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't operate under those conditions," and it would fold back and keep itself safe. You can lose, with the 10 kilowatt design, it's got up to 8 power supplies. You can lose like 3 of them and still be making 10 kilowatts. You can lose a whole amplifier pallet of the 6 and still be making 10 kilowatts. So it's very cross redundant. The power supplies all share power going into the amplifier modules, and then the amplifier modules are all combined we use a special kind of ring combiner, so we don't need as much of a dummy load. So even if you have an imbalance, you lose an amplifier pallet, whatever power you can maintain with that missing amplifier pallet, you can run at that power indefinitely. There's no time limit, there's no heat overload, there's no issue with anything like that. So it's just kind of the latest generation, and we've added more features. So we've had a basic RDS encoder that was somewhat capable of doing artist and title information in the previous range, what we call the E series. That's the one Crown sold as the E series. But the new one, because it's our new RDS encoder is almost entirely software. And so it's very easy to put the full capability. So the website and the RDS configuration and controls in the AiO transmitters look and operate exactly the same way as they do in our full top of the line flagship Automat RDS encoder. The sound processor is a 5-band audio processor, very nice, good quality. Again, you have to understand the difference between the European broadcast model, in which fidelity and the sound quality tends to be the paramount category, as opposed to the U.S. and especially Latin America, where the prime importance seems to be get it as loud as possible. And I won't even get started on the PPM encoding and what that does to it. But so the sound processor is quite capable. But as Barry mentioned, what we're excited about and what won the awards this year was the ability to put the APT technology into the Acriso transmitter. So the Acriso AiO series, and it comes in different packages. So depending on what features you want, you can order a different package and get a good price on the features that you need. It is the encoder, or decoder, I should say. It's only a decoder in the transmitter, because why would you encode anything there? It is exactly the same capability as the APT-IP codec that you see over on the left. It can receive audio in a number of different compression formats. Of course, our enhanced aptX, eAptX, is one of the popular ones because it gives you, again, excellent quality at a very good bit rate. But you can do the MPEGs and the different AACs, and I think we talk Opus, and Dante. So almost any compressed streaming audio format, of course. And now it also will accept APTmpx. So let's let's pop into this APTmpx. So this is we just introduced this at the NAB this year. Um, it is well, and we've had it available, but the solution, the new silver encoder, MPX encoder, and the transmitter is what was the new feature at NAB this year. So the APTmpx was a response to the market because we saw a lot of folks that were going into MPX distribution. Let me go ahead and go into play mode on this. So the advantages to distributing MPX instead of just baseline audio to your transmitter sites is, well, there are several. Again, it's most applicable, this first one at least, is most applicable to a European model where you're sending the exact same audio to be broadcast on a number of different transmitters. That way you can have one audio processor, you set your signature sound in one spot, you create your composite signal, and then you can shoot that out over the network to any number of different stations at each transmitter site. So it saves the need for individual devices at each transmitter site, so your power cord count goes down, your failure opportunities, points of failure go down, and you get a very consistent sound over all of your different transmitter sites. So you can so distributing MPX to the transmitter sites, some advantages there. And the MPX signal, the composite signal in its entirety, is a pretty beefy amount of data. If you just digitize that, you keep it linear, 16 or 24 bit, and you're going not the full composite spectrum, not all the way up to the SCAs, but at least enough to get the RDS, 64 kilohertz. You're going to be talking 4 megabits a second for linear. And so that's pretty substantial, and not everybody has the pipe to accommodate that kind of a bandwidth. You can protect your streams no matter what the bandwidth they're on with the SureStream technology that we introduced. And then we also have SynchroStream capability, which does time alignment of the different signal paths being different and distributed to different transmitter sites over a network. So it allows you to compensate for the different network delays of the different sites and ensure that for single frequency networks, it's essential. You've got to be able to ensure that audio is exactly synchronized at certain areas in the field. So SureStream, well, we're going backwards. Let's go forwards, shall we? All right, so here's the MPX signal. Of course, we've got the baseline audio, the left plus right mono down the left. You got the 19 kilohertz pilot. You've got the stereo audio, left and right channel with the suppressed carrier, the RDS up at 57 kilohertz, and then there's more up above if you want to get into the SCAs and stuff like that. So the idea is to get all of this signal from the studio to the transmitter site. So several different manufacturers have come up with different ideas or concepts on how to do that while reducing the bandwidth, so you don't have to come up with that 4 megabits a second. So the modulation obviously adjusted on the exciter. You've got your sound processor. You want to set that signature sound and then send the composite MPX signal out to your transmitter sites. So we can do different with the different hardware that we have available. We can do analog MPX at either end with the BNC connectors. We can do digital MPX at either end with the AES, MPX over AES, and the 3-pin XLR connectors. And you mix and match your hardware as you need to. So say you've got MPX over AES coming out of your audio processor at the studio. Great. So you put one encoder there at the studio, and you can shoot that out to multiple sites. At some sites, you might be able to shoot that MPX over AES directly into an Acrezo transmitter, or you might have to have a decoder that would come out with an analog MPX over composite, over with a BNC connector for older transmitters that don't do the digital MPX over AES. So flexibility. You've got different ways to do it, whichever whatever your hardware requires. So the different parts of the MPX signal can be filtered out depending on what kind of bandwidth you want to hit, the target that you want to hit. So as you can see, the big ones, if you're doing all the different bandwidths and modes, You're talking a little bit over 4 megabits a second. You can cut that down to just up past the RDS and get it down to about 3 megabits a second. You can shave it a little bit more if you want to, and get down to maybe 2 megabits a second. But it's still, again, depending on whether you're doing 16-bit or 24-bit, it's still a lot of bandwidth. And if you're using SureStream to protect that signal, you've got to have double the bandwidth, right? Because SureStream works by sending redundant multiple copies of the stream. So if we want to get down below that 2 megabits a second, we've got to be able to do some signal compression. And so you can compress the composite signal in lots of different ways. Um, the best, the kind of the market leading low bit rate, and just because you could doesn't necessarily mean you should. But if all you've got is a half a megabyte to get a composite signal to, by truncating the amount or the parts of the MPX signal that we send, and by compressing the remaining parts of the signal, we can get that down to 300 kilobits a second. So that requires some disassembly and reassembly of the thing to get that bit rate that low. Our signature, where we came into the market with the APTmpx, is we wanted to do a more holistic approach. And so our 900 kilobits algorithm here, the kind of the mid pack right there, it's under 1 megabit per second, which is a nice benchmark. That is a holistic compression. In other words, we do not demodulate the audio, pull the RDS out, any of that stuff. It's the entire composite signal sampled as a whole, compressed as a whole, and sent to the other end and reconstituted. So that is probably the highest quality MPX signal that you can get in under a megabit per second. Now that does include the RDS, but nothing beyond. We're well known for our transparency. The type of encoding, the processing that we use means very good signal fidelity. We have been shown not to cause any significant effects on the watermarking, the PPM watermarking. And of course, once you compress the composite into digital, you can do a lot of different things with it. So you can buffer it, you can send it on multiple paths with SureStream. It's a very, very solid, very durable compression. So one of the things you have to watch out for when you're sending a composite over IP is packet loss. Because packet loss if you make a hole in a composite signal, that is going to very commonly lead to square waves, right? If the composite signal just goes away and then suddenly comes back again at the same level it was a half second earlier, modulators are not going to like that. So peak limiter can help with some of that, but we also use an overmodulation cancellation algorithm, which is a mouthful, but very effective that keeps those big dropouts from being a problem. Of course, the SureStream kind of protects you from packet loss anyway, but if you do have a dropout, unavoidable dropout, the OMC, the OCA is gonna help protect you from overmodulating or overshooting. So that's a little check at what it looks like with 2% packet loss. Doesn't take much packet loss to really start causing some issues. With the modulation, the overmodulation cancellation algorithm, it's pretty tight. Without that algorithm active, you can see some pretty ugly effects coming as far as overshoot is concerned. I'm gonna just kind of, so again, reduce the amount of hardware at the sites, consistent signature, sound signature all the way through, cost reductions, flexibility, fewer failure points. So yeah, as far as the compressed MPX over IP is concerned, basically there are only two options as far as the compression scheme. There's APTmpx and there's micro MPX. Micro MPX, contrary to what some folks in the US believe, that's not a Telos product. Micro MPS is something that Telos licenses. Same way Gates Air licenses the micro MPX algorithm from Timeo. So you can get micro MPX in a lot of different products. And so that's kind of like the one sort of standard flavor of MPX over IP compression. And then the other, which is a different way of approaching it, is the APTmpx. So those are, you've got you've got two options. You can evaluate them as you see fit. Um, we're proud now that we have just gotten an agreement from Orban. They are going to be including or are already including the APTmpx algorithm as an output option for their new processors. What is it, the 5920, the 59? I don't know. All I can think of is 5950, which is a Van Halen album, if I'm not mistaken. Um, anyway, so we're happy to be, in the market and offer our wares. We think it has some distinct advantages over the other competition, but of course they would say the same thing about us. So um, all I can say is caveat emptor. Uh, oh, SynchroStream, really nothing, you know, it's just we're able to synchronize the audio going out to the different sites over the network. Doesn't matter what kind of network connection is, you set a target latency for whatever the worst delay segment is. So the transmitter site that gets the audio the last, that's going to set your target delay so that you can back all the other transmitter sites off so it all comes out all right in the field. The key thing when you're controlling the area where those signals overlap and whether or not that's going to sound good or maybe not so good is how precisely you can adjust that audio delay in between the two sites. And we operate in terms of steps of plus minus 125 nanoseconds. So that is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's an eighth of a millisecond. But anyway, it's a pretty fine adjustment, and it really makes it a lot easier to dial in and get the mush zones and the coverage and stuff in the field exactly the way you want it. Let's see. So I am not. That's hardware stuff. That's SynchroStream. I'm just going to blast through this because we're really talking about APTmpx today. But that's all about the synchronization stuff, multi-frequency networks. So that's a place where you could use MPX over IP, right? Multi-frequency networks, same program coming out on two different frequencies. Your receiver is doing the automatic frequency switching between the two, but you want the sound to be consistent. Same thing, as when your receiver is blending back and forth between IBOC and analog audio when you're out in the field. You want that not to be a jarring transition. So it's a good opportunity to send MPX over IP to both of those stations, both of those signals, and even more so on single frequency networks. You want to make sure that they're really, really well synced. Okay, was there anything else I want? Oh yeah, here, APT STL codecs. So here's the new one. This is our new baby that won the award. This is the IP Silver MPX encoder. So as Barry said, if you have the Icrizo AIO transmitter, you choose the package that has the APT decoder inside. Then all you need is one of these silvers at the transmitter site, at the studio site, come out of your audio processor, plug it into the silver, boom, out over the network, and you're in like a porch climber. Um, you can go higher again. You can go up to the IP codec, which can do. It doesn't have the BNC connectors, but it can do the MPX over AES. So if you've got digital AES at your transmitter site or digital AES at your studio coming out of your processor, plug it into this. Again, you could send it directly to an Acrizo transmitter or to an IP Silver MPX decoder if you've got a transmitter that has, or an APT IP codec decoder if a transmitter only has audio inputs. So you can work it that way. And then our frame, what we call the codec frame. There it is. So that's a frame that can hold up to 4 modules. Each of those 4 modules is like a full APT/IP codec. So any of those can do MPX over IP, either AES, or we have also a panel that has the BNC connectors to go on the back of that frame. So with that frame, you could do some analog, MPX. You could do some MPX over AES, mix and match, however you like, and you're off to the races. All right, so thanks for that. A little bit more about the APTmpx, but I think I'll take a breath here. We're half an hour into this already, and I haven't paused for questions. So everybody doing okay so far? Y'all still awake?
If you'd like to ask a question of Tony, just press your space bar or alternate A, and you will be heard.
Hey Tony,
Yes, sir.
I noticed that you can accept audio, digital audio going straight into the transmitter. Can you can you accept audio for let's say HD channels like a 2 and a 3 directly in?
We don't do HD. We were first on the market with an effective HD monitor in the US, and the Golden Eagle HD served us quite well. We made a pass at a mobile field measurement device, and we just may have something in the works for monitoring and for mobile field measurement again. But on the transmitter side, we played around with DAB for a while. It was a lot more impactful for us in Europe, but we just haven't seen the market because the areas of the world that are playing with HD radio are areas in the world where they have higher power transmitters. We only go up to 10 kilowatts, so we're never really going to be able to play in the U.S. market for HD. Um, so it's something that, we'll look at. If we determine that there may be a profit in doing so, then we may go ahead and do the development. And like I say, we're looking into doing another HD monitoring product and a mobile product as well. But no plans for transmitters at the moment.
Thank you.
So something that you could do with one of the frames or even with the APT-IP codec, the codecs have the ability to pass through a stream. So if you had an APT-IP codec, you could send your audio into it and encode that into MPX over AES, shoot that out to the transmitter, but then you could feed another audio stream to the codec and have it forward it as is to the site as well. So you could encode your HD2 and 3 audios and actually pass them through the codec, but it would, my humble opinion, be adding complexity. If you've already got it in the stream, why not just go ahead and send that stream right out directly to the transmitter? The one advantage would be if both the composite MPX is coming out of the codec and the audio is passing through it, you have the ability to lock those two streams together. So theoretically, anyway, they should arrive at the other end and come out in perfect sync.
Tony, is the lower power, I think, was the extension of the line this year to cover translators and low power
Correct? Yep.
FM. What do you do in terms of control? Do you have a built-in interface, or are you
Oh yeah.
relying on an all external remote control?
No, there's a front panel interface with the control wheel and the buttons and the little LED screen. There is, of course, an immensely robust embedded website. So all the configuration stuff can be done like that. There's a command line interface you can access through a serial port if you want to, and the transmitter also speaks fluent SNMP. So if you're using SNMP in your broadcast monitoring and control systems, that's another avenue, another pathway you have to communicate with the transmitter.
Do you use one uh, browser-based control for all transmitters?
No, we have kind of an overarching monitoring software called Kibio. So if you want to integrate a bunch of transmitters into one kind of view, you could look at that Kibio software, which is kind of a network monitoring system, NMS, or you could scale it down a little bit and get yourself a device that speaks script-easy, and then you could build a site or build yourself a view that has all of the controls and all of the parameters that you want to see from any site, anywhere, anytime. ScriptEasy, by the way, is no longer reliant on WorldCast hardware. We have come out with a virtual ScriptEasy. So it's got all the scripting language and the logic and the SNP commands and everything else. They can operate on a virtual platform. just like you see with virtual APT IP codec there on the upper left. So Docker container, it can run on Linux, Kubernetes, the whole deal. And that brain just lives in that virtual hardware and can reach out and communicate by SNMP, and then you buy little inexpensive SNMP IO boxes that have whatever kind of physical interfaces you need, relays or contact closures or analog metering readings or whatever else. There's a universe of that stuff available. So the script easy brain is where you can coordinate and create your views and gather all the information together, and then that brain can reach out through these little edge devices, like little tentacles of the octopus, as it needs to actually reach out and make physical things happen where needed.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we had you do a presentation on Gibio a year or so ago. And
Yep, it keeps getting better all the time.
well, that's good. That's good. Maybe we'll have to come back and redo that or add more features and talk
Sure.
about it. Are you still supplying to Crown?
No, unfortunately, Crown is not reselling our transmitters anymore. They opted to end that relationship, and quite honestly, they hadn't sold that many in the last couple of years, and they were having trouble supporting them because all the people, Don and everybody that we trained originally on the E series has since left the company. So, but that's all right. We're selling plenty on our own.
Well, that's good. That's good.
We were fortunate during the pandemic and the component shortage and all that happened that our somehow our procurement department anticipated and did we were never at a point where we couldn't deliver transmitters. I think our longest lead time on some models got up to about 4 weeks. But generally throughout the whole mess, we had stock in Miami.
That's
It was
admirable.
it
Admirable.
was it was I was very impressed. Next time I went over there for a meeting, it's like I got up in the middle of the all staff meeting. He's like, "Hey, you guys, we're not worthy. We're not worthy." They did an amazing job.
Um, Let me ask this. Anyone else have any questions? If you would like to ask Tony a
Oh,
question about the AIOs or any other WorldCast product, really. But
oh, yeah, Tony, I might have missed it. The IP codecs,
Yes.
you have multiple transmitters, multiple stations at one transmitter site. Is this a vehicle that can carry multiple audio streams?
The IP codec as it is was designed to be just a single stream,
Okay,
stereo
okay,
bidirectional. Now there is
okay.
the frame in which you can put the different cards.
Yeah,
And as I was telling David earlier, the codecs have the ability to forward to stream. So if it's audio that's already in streaming form, they can accept that and pass that on to the site as well as the audio that they're actually encoding. But it, adds, I think, unnecessarily complexity. So, but the multi-channel option with the frame, because each of those cards in the frame, you can set to be dual encode, right? So each card has 4 channels, which could be, quad mono encode, quad mono decode, or 2 in each direction, um, which could be dual mono or stereo. Either way, depends on the algorithm you pick. So I found this out the hard way. Had a customer that wanted to do set one of those into a quad mono and send different audio on the left and right channels of each pair, and they wanted to use an MPEG algorithm. And it's like found out that MPEG is not so great at maintaining stereo separation.
right.
So we had to switch to the enhanced aptX. Then with enhanced aptX, you can send uh, discrete audio in the left and right channels without them cross talking, or linear, of course. Let's see, what else did I have open here? I thought I've got an AIO manual I can show you.
well, that would be nice.
Yeah. So, and I will warn you in advance that I did not edit this manual. One of my first tasks when I joined the company in 2005 was rewriting the manual for the FMB 80 RDS encoder, which was an example of what we still call at the factory franglais. It was translated to English by non-English speakers, so the rewrite was a big help. But there we go, looking at the front panel, identifying the rear panel. A note: this is a it's been an interminable process, but we're hopefully about a week away from getting our LPFM certification for the AIO series 100 and 300.
Those are good little, we put in a Crest, so I built a translator for a client in Michigan,
Yep.
and we put in, we had to do 250 watts, so, and we had the loss and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, nice little box, set up really easy, and tech support was cool, and it just hums. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like I say, that's the our targets when we build a transmitter, design a build a transmitter is what goes in the ear.
Yeah.
It's got to sound good first and
And it
foremost,
just, went together really well. And this is my first time using it. And, previously we built a lot of stuff with the BWs.
right?
And this one I said, let's give it a shot. And the client likes it, and it's been
Yeah.
on the air a year now.
No
So
issues.
no, no.
Yeah, no, I installed our first 10 kilowatt in the US. I installed on Long Island about 2.5 years ago. And I keep bugging the guy. I keep calling him and say, "Hey, can we get a user report? Can we get a user report?" He's like, "Oh, I'm too busy, but the transmitter's working great. Talk to you later." So, Jonathan, if you have a moment to reach out to me or our marketing director Chantal, we're always looking for user reports. Anybody that's had any kind of experience, we like to get the feedback. But if it's a good experience, we'll share that with other potential customers.
Tony, John, you know what I want? I want that user report for the BDR,
There
please.
you go.
Hello.
I'm about ready to write you something on this co-locate thing that's underway in Cincinnati. So that's a trip.
Now, there's a shot of the graphic interface. That's the kind of the home page when you first log into the AIO series website, so you can always immediately see if what audio systems are active, if everything's good, if your smart FM is on or not. Uh, Smart FM, in case you hadn't heard, was a technology we developed a number of years ago that allows you to save money by reducing the power of the transmitter based on modulation. Very similar to the way MDCL works on AM, only this is for FM. And extensive double-blind testing shows that it causes no audible effects in the listening area, and can save you up to 40% on your operating power costs.
Elenos does
So,
something similar, doesn't it?
who?
Elenos?
I am not sure. As with several of our other solutions in the past, we find that we introduce something that's kind of market changing, like SureStream or Smart FM, and within a year or two, pretty much everybody is
It's
touting
around.
something that sounds similar, at least.
Yeah.
In certain cases, they even basically stole our logo. So,
Well,
uh,
speaking of introducing, let's introduce Grady Moats. He's got his hand up.
hey, Grady.
Oh, look, I've got my hand up. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Um, can I share my screen?
Sure. I'll stop sharing mine here.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let's see if I can do this.
Oh, you can do this. I know you. There
You
you
can
go.
Can y'all
do.
see that? Y'all can see that?
Yep.
Um, there's been a lot of discussion over the years about single sideband MPX, and I use it. This is one of my stations running the old version, which is there is no outer sideband. And this is the one that some European receiver chipsets have a problem with.
Hmm.
And when those cars get on the road anywhere in the world that's running single sideband, they act crazy and you lose a few listeners. However, Timio and the Omnia.9 have a newer version of it. This is what it looks like. You'll notice that it's still got less energy in the upper sideband, specifically in the lower frequency range of the audio, but there's almost nothing up in the presence band and the high band. It's like a 6 dB per octave roll off on the high side, and then they do a 6 dB per octave boost on the low side so that you still get flat response in the L minus R so that you get good cancellation and good stereo. This appears to have been done to resolve the problem with that European chipset. And I've been running this now for 3 years on the UMass Boston 9 radio station network. And we haven't had any problems at all with people complaining about being able to pick us up. And
Nice.
that's interesting because public radio listeners, since they donate money, they'll let you know if there's a problem because they feel like they are being robbed.
Uh-huh.
My question for you is, in your APTmpx product, at 900 kilobits per second, or in any of the linear modes, since you're not doing any disassembly at all of the multiplex composite baseband, would single sideband go through the internet and get to my other transmitter sites?
Yeah, at least theoretically, and then there's no reason why it shouldn't. I mean, we basically are sampling everything up to about 64, 65 kilohertz. So anything that goes into at the studio end in that band range should come out at the other end. Now, I will say single sideband is not something that we're really conscious of. It's not something that's getting a whole lot of play, I don't think, over in Europe. So I don't know how aware they are. But there's nothing we do to the composite signal that would affect that any differently than it would affect a normal MPX.
Well, the interesting thing about it is I didn't ask for it. It just happens that I ended up getting a .9 used to use at my transmitter site in Quincy for the Boston network.
Mhm.
And it had an encoder on it for the version of MPX STL that Omnia has, so
Micro
that I didn't
MPX.
have to buy a separate encoder. I could just use my audio processor to do it. And
Yep.
after I had that unit in the rack, I discovered that it had two different versions of single sideband. And so I tried this one out and discovered that it really is a pretty sweet working system.
Hmm.
Barry and I have been talking about maybe I might do a program about my philosophies and why I use it at some point, but we haven't gotten around to it because we've both been way too busy. But if your APTmpx product would just basically take this and shove it through to all my other transmitter sites at 900 kilobits per second,
Yep.
I'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, if you could give that to us either on an MPX over AES or an analog MPX, we would pass it no problem.
Thank you.
Sure. Alrighty.
Tony, do you have a little card with some contact information for us?
Wow. No, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Let me let me see. I know the unfortunately PowerPoint was done by Hartmut, so it's got all of his stuff on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, just throw a Word page up and type it in real quick.
all right.
Because what I want to ask you is you're also doing some consulting now.
Yes. Actually, I can show you that card. I have hung out my own shingle as Tony Peterle Technology Services. I'm still jumping through the legal hoops to get all of the stuff we need to actually do business in the US. And I don't have a frickin' email on these cards yet. No, I have them on my card, but this is just the logo. But if you go to tptechno.com here, let me go to tptechno.com. Da 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 dee. It had to be you.
So what actually
TP
area are you going to
Techno.
specialize in?
Well, obviously with the experience that I have with WorldCast products, anybody that needs assistance and stuff like that, it's installations, troubleshooting. I'm thinking about putting up a different version of the website that has just a roll of toilet paper on it. TP Techno, we clean up the stuff other people leave behind. Um, So that's basically all I have
All
for
right.
right now. Until I get I've got my employer identification number in. I'm registered with the Ohio State Department of Revenue. I just have to get a bank account, and then I can actually start doing business. So there is a link there where you can contact me, or of course you can still contact me through my WorldCast address or through Tony Peterle at tptechno.com.
Well, that's good. I sure appreciate your coming along and sharing with us.
Well, I thank you for the invite and all the great questions and the attention. It's appreciate talking to folks about good stuff.
Yeah, between YouTube and Zoom, we have mid 50s here today,
Nice.
and that's a nice group. And we'll get the video up so
Alrighty.
more can see it. But
Well, I
yeah,
see we have some chat here. Oh, what's a link to the AOIP cards? Yes, the manual for the cards. All right, we can do that. Yep,
well, that's what the chat's for.
super.
And yeah, WorldCast is, it's funny where the way they started and the way they've become stronger over the years. And I think that's something that
And
not everybody really understands.
yeah, we started actually back in the early 80s as a consultant firm, engineering consultant in France. Daniel Verbrook was his name, and just brilliant guy. He said, "Oh, I've got all these radio stations to take care of. Let me design a agile multi-frequency FM monitor to sweep all these stations and let me know if something goes wrong." And that was the first Golden Eagle. We were lucky to break into the U.S. with the original RDS encoder, the FMB 80, which was head and shoulders above anything else in the world at the time. We were fortunate again with the Golden Eagle HD. That was a very popular product at the right time. We were fortunate with the Relio and Script Easy and all getting adopted by Clear Channel and then by EMF. I still think that's the best facility control software on the market, bar none. So it's and acquiring other companies like Acrezo and APT and people that had this really insane level of skill. It's been I've been almost 20 years with the company and I've loved it all.
I met Sophie and Christophe in Amsterdam one year, and it was quite a eye-opening thing to see what they were trying to do, and really was good. Or was
Yeah,
Philadelphia somewhere? The shows all run together.
yeah, yeah.
So, uh, yeah, but a good company and people dedicated to doing good
Yep.
gear.
Absolutely. Really, really smart people, really pushing the envelope of what can be accomplished in broadcast and related technologies. It's great.
And especially, again, I want to make this point because you're here in this country with a U.S. phone number and English speaking.
Yes, more or
Not to
less.
not to say that not to say that some of these other folks are not
Right, right.
capable,
But
but
yeah, no, we've had, in fact, that was my first role with the company in 2005 was I was their first native English speaking support guy.
mhm.
So I went down, Chris and Sophie had just started the Miami office a couple of years ago, the years before, and so that's how I started with the company was doing support, and it's been wonderful. Traveled all over the world.
And that's what I mean because goodness, you go back to the days of Japanese and Chinese manuals that kind of fracture the language a little bit, shall we say?
Yeah, just a touch.
In between the time zone and the language, sometimes it was hard to get information or tech support or whatever you needed.
Right, sure.
But as you said, uh, Sophie and Christophe, they landed in Miami and they had that idea to make sure that it met the market here.
Yeah.
So that's my endorsement of what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you
So
very much.
so Tony, I invite you back again, as I say, to do some more, and we'll talk about some of the other things at WorldCast or one of the projects that you get into with CP Tech.
Yep. You never know.
So let's stay in touch and talk further.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Barry. Thanks
Okay.
everybody for your time and feel free to contact me with any questions.